open camp today with very high hopes to the new season. Quarterback Stephen Garcia has been reinstated. The senior quarterback ranks third all-time in yards and touchdowns. Running back Lattimore returns after being named the National Freshman of the Year. Despite its 6-7 season,
not what you would
expect for Georgia. I think Mark Richt, some people thought would be on the hot seat. Not the case, but Murray's back. Crowell, as you know, a great freshman coming in. What are your expectations?
I love this Georgia team, Ryan. I actually think this is a team that will win the SEC East. I like them on defense because they've got some bulk with that 3-4 defense now with Jonathan Jenkins at the nose tackle. But look at the schedule. It's the most important factor. They do not draw LSU, Alabama, or Arkansas from the West. They do draw Mississippi State, but they get them at home. And the 3 SEC road games that they have on the schedule are all versus teams that finished with a losing record a year ago. The opener with Boise, it's going to be a challenge, no doubt, but they get it in Atlanta. So there's going to be some rabid dog fans in the Georgia Dome, but it's December 10th opening with the SEC and South Carolina that could determine an awful lot in the East.
Well, what we love about you, Luke, is you're always a glass half full. So I will take the glass half empty. Right. Boise will be a tough game.
Absolutely.
And then you get South Carolina week 2. If this team is 0-2, it could come apart fast. With that said, who's your pick to win the East?
I still think it's Georgia. Even at 0-2, Georgia could come back down the stretch, play extremely well with 1 loss on the East, never knowing what's going to happen with an improved Florida team in Will Muschamp. How is South Carolina going to fare with Stephen Garcia at quarterback if he ends up being their full-time starter? And how many strides is Tennessee going to make under Derek Dooley with this extremely young team that played a lot of freshmen a year ago? I still like Georgia. I know everybody's on top of South Carolina right now and feeling good about the Gamecocks. I don't blame them. I think South Carolina is going to be very good. Georgia's teams have always overachieved when not much has been expected of them. And Mark Richt, don't get spoiled, Georgia fans, has won an awful lot of football games at the helm in Athens.
Well, you call it the hot seat. The heat is up.
Ahead on Friday's college football blitz, can the Gamecocks run their way to another SEC East title, or might another team rise up and knock them off? Coach's poll is out as of right now. Nebraska 11, South Carolina SEC East champs looking at number 12. As you look on down the line, Notre Dame gets in at number 18. How about Auburn in at 19? Your defending champs. Your final 5 teams in the poll: Mizzou, Georgia, Florida, Texas, and Penn State. Best of the SEC East. That is our division of the day on the Blitz. You look at the preseason poll according to the media, and South Carolina expected to repeat as division champions, with Georgia, your alma mater, sir, getting the 2nd most votes. Florida, Tennessee, and even Kentucky all getting a first-place vote. So with that, we start. Best of the SEC East. Stinch, what is the best reason to think South Carolina will not repeat as division champions?
Well, yeah, we'll start with the negative, right? They got to be the division champ last year, but why won't they be able to repeat this year? Well, there's a couple of reasons, really. They replace or really return a lot of stars. Stephen Garcia is the top passer in the SEC coming back this year. He has maybe the top target in wide receiver Alshon Jeffery, 6'4", 230 pounds of him, and Lattimore, a guy he can turn around and hand it off to at the tailback position. But the offensive line is in flux yet again, as it always seems to be under Steve Spurrier. He may not be able to be as balanced because of that. You look at the schedule. They're at Mississippi State, they're at Tennessee, they're at Arkansas, all in a row. That's a tough row. When you look at the schedule, it might be a real challenge. And let's not forget, they have to play the University of Georgia in week 2.
That's a tough schedule. How about the easiest start to a schedule in the East?
Easiest start? I'm going to go with the toughest, maybe.
Let's go toughest. I like that better.
And that just dovetails nicely with the fact that the University of Georgia is kicking the season off nice and easy with a top 10 team. Boise State, they want to announce their presence with authority, go to the Georgia Dome, play an SEC team, and they're hoping the Broncos are to come out with a victory. Georgia then has to turn around and play their division foe, South Carolina. But after that, it does become maybe the easiest schedule in the SEC. It starts out tough, but Georgia has an opportunity. If they drop the first 2 games, they could easily finish 10-2.
See, that's where I was going from the get-go with the easiest.
Yeah, well, there's polarity.
Best chance to be the surprise team in the SEC East.
I'm going to go with Florida, and we talked about this a year ago. You got to replace Tim Tebow and Brandon Spikes. Well, now you have to replace a legendary coach in Urban Meyer, and you did it with the head coach in waiting at Texas, Will Muschamp. His geography's off. He became the head coach in Gainesville, Florida. It's working out great, I think, for him. He's a defensive-minded guy. Defense is what helped Florida win a championship in 2006. Offensively, it's a huge transition. But you got to think John Brantley was a Maxwell Award candidate going into last season. Maybe he was just in the wrong offense. Charlie Weiss is this offensive guru. If he can find a way to plug in John Brantley as a pocket passer, get some wide receivers to emerge, they might be the surprise team.
I've heard about that, about Charlie Weiss. SEC East team with the best future.
I'm going to go with Tennessee. And the reason I say that, and note that we're not talking about the present here. They're probably another 500 team this year, but Derek Dewey's got this program back on the rails. He's got it on track. They're just really young, yet they're more experienced. They've at least got 1 year under his philosophy. They're back-to-back years with the same defensive coordinator and Justin Wilcox, and they're too deep on offense. Yeah. They're almost entirely sophomores, and so because of that, you can build.
Jess Story's a year ago, either first or second team all-conference in the automatic qualifying conferences last season. As for who's what freshmen, maybe superstars this season. How about recruiting director Tom Luganville?
Easy to say Jadeveon Clowney, but I'm going to go with Anthony Johnson, the defensive tackle at LSU, who could fill an immediate need on the interior and maybe a guy that has a little bit more opportunity to have an impact as opposed to the edge pass rusher in Clowney, who people are going to certainly try to isolate on each and every run down. And as far as a national perspective for a guy that you may need to know and could emerge at the end of the season, Kyle Frazier, the quarterback for the Auburn Tigers. If Barrett Trotter and Clint Mosley are not the answer under center, expect Gus Malzahn and head coach Gene Chizik to work with Kyle Frazier, who's actually the best fit as a passer and an athlete, to run this offense, give Auburn that running dimension that they sorely will be missing from Cam Newton, and maybe emerge as the starter by the end of the year.
All right, again, taking a look at some incoming freshmen with high expectations right off the bat. Stinch, your alma mater, Isaiah Crowell, Georgia. You expect big things from him.
I think a lot of people do. They've heard a lot of comparisons about Isaiah Crowell coming in, #1 running back in the country, part of the dream team in Athens, and he might have to play early with the attrition they've seen at running back.
By the way, there's a young man at Notre Dame by the name of Aaron Lynch, defensive end, who is dynamite. Guess what time it is? SEC East, Blitz, ULET. We spin the ULET wheel. Whatever team I stop it on, we ask you, Matt Stinchcomb, a question. Are you ready? And stop. Oh, well. Did you fix ULET here for your own?
We don't rig this game.
No, we don't.
It's a legitimate
game. We believe in ULET integrity. What new Bulldog will have the biggest impact? Did we just mention this young man?
We talked about him a little bit, Isaiah Crowell, but I think it might be two other guys. One guy on the offensive side of the ball, Malcolm Mitchell, wide receiver out of Valdosta. A.J. Green's gone now for the Georgia Bulldogs. They need somebody to step up the receiver position. Maybe John Jenkins, a nose tackle, JUCO signee. He might be the key to that defense playing better this year.
All right, let's play ULET again.
Right, okay.
Here,
roll them.
You have the honors.
Are you seriously?
I mean it.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, we're friends.
And
oh,
I thought we had the year that blended into the game.
We end up with cocky here. All right, South Carolina. Is Steve Spurrier, in your mind, still one of the best coaches in college football?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I thought maybe he was fading a little bit, getting a little disinterested, maybe frustrated. But last year, it had to energize the old head ball coach. I mean, when you look at him, the fact that he got 9 wins, now he still ended up with 5 losses. It did not end well for them as far as the SEC championship game or even their bowl game. But he's got the pieces that he needs. And you talk about a great salesman. We hit it on it earlier. They've got all the talent from South Carolina you would ever want to get. He's building something there, and he looks like he's willing to coach another 10 years.
Let's hit another one real quick. Ready?
Yeah.
Let's play. ULET. Stop. Hey, we get a Twitter question. What are Trey Burton's prospects in the new Gator offense at Florida?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see the 3-headed monster that we saw last year at quarterback, that's for sure. It's a totally different dynamic under Charlie Weiss, but they said that they've got him at fullback, and when you think short yardage, he's probably their biggest back on roster, 222 pounds. You get near the goal line, you need to get a first down.